To another amazing episode of the Feeling Unstoppable podcast. I'm your host, like always, Cindy Montoya, and on today's episode, I'm so excited. I have another guest onto the podcast. She is beautiful, she is funny, she is extremely talented, the one and only Brittany freaking Brave.
Oh my God! That's so nice. Thank you. I've never had a man say all of those words to me, so this is a big moment for me, and thank you.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I saw one of your first comedy sets when I went to the Bay 13 show.
Great show.
Mm-hmm. I was just like, when I saw you, I talked to Erin, the producer, and I was like, I need her on my podcast somehow. I was like, it was just, you weren't talking about your dick. You weren't talking about just manly stuff that you hear from a lot of male comedians. Mm-hmm. And it was just finally someone that's relatable. We get you.
Awesome.
So that's
Thank
why I
was
when I was listening to everything and how you were going about your comedy, I was just I need her on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I always try to I think I always say I do comedy for women, and then if men enjoy it, it's a TED Talk, whatever, it's a plus, but you're not priority. So it always makes me feel good whenever like-minded women in the audience are I got it. You said things I needed to hear. I'm a fan, so on and so forth. So thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
And I also took my sister to because you were having another show too at Bay 13. You did too, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I've done that show twice.
Yeah.
It's always great. It's always a very fun time. Love that spot. Yeah.
I told my sister, I was like, listen, I know you don't like comedy shows, but this girl's coming on. And I was like, I think you'll like it. And then she's like, bro, that was the best shit I've seen all year long.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, can we curse too late? Okay.
Oh,
yeah. Fuck yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so nice. Thank you. I'm glad.
No, it's top tier.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to take a different approach this time on how I usually do my interviews.
Okay.
So
I'm going to take a whiskey. So go
no, you take
she said a different approach. I'm I'm on the spot.
So for a person that does a lot, and I assume you have a very heavy plate for the most part,
Pretty much, yeah.
You do comedy, you do acting, you write a little bit, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as a person with so much on their plate, what makes you feel unstoppable and helps you keep going and doing all of that?
What makes me feel unstoppable? Oh man, a couple different things. Is this cheating if I give you an answer that's a couple of different things all at once? Okay. Think of ranges, things that make me feel unstoppable. So, I mean, one good easy moment, one good thing is moments just like now, seeing women that are in the audience that feel as if what I said resonated and connected with them and made them feel good and forget their problems. That kind of stuff makes me feel unstoppable. It ranges from that to mini Woodford Reserve whiskeys that are in green rooms of podcasts and getting to take a swig. That makes me feel unstoppable. No, I think feeling unstoppable. It's I was in a career for so many years. I was a publicist, and while I was grateful for those years and I had a lot of fun, I didn't feel really self-actualized, and I didn't feel like what I was doing was making the impact that I wanted. Mm-hmm. My greatest fear is to be irrelevant. Yeah. That's and not in a douchey way. I don't really even care for fame necessarily, but my greatest fear would be to just kind of leave this planet untouched and not impact people in a positive way or make something really meaningful that outlives me.
Yeah.
So I think I feel bits of feeling unstoppable every time I take steps towards building things. I feel really unstoppable when I build things and make things tangibly happen.
Even if there's setbacks and everything.
Even if there's setbacks. Yeah, totally. And the setbacks can mess with you for sure. But the resistance only gets greater when the stakes get higher and the farther you go. I personally have had that this summer. I've had a lot of big changes and big updates and bigger projects and things like that. And I've probably been the busiest that I've been. But at that same time, I've also had a lot of resistance and a lot of really, really bad days and confusing discussions and negotiations and stuff. And I've just had to kind of remind myself that resistance points true north, and those setbacks are there it always gets toughest right before the finish line.
Exactly.
Darkest
Once
before the
you're
dawn.
closer to your goal, it's just like there's something always going to be in the way, but it's like if you see it through and you finish it, I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, and it's also realizing too, it's like, you know, the challenges never go away. I even think about this as a comedian, like, you know, it's like, you know, you can get really upset about bombing or having a bad set, but you're always going to bomb. It's just the bomb is going to look different. That's never going to go away. And like the stakes now might be whether or not you get that show at the Improv or you get that audition. But, you know, if you continue with this, you have to get used to the fact that the stakes are only going to get higher. Exactly. You know, for now it's this, but in 5 years it might be, oh man, Comedy Central deciding yes or no on whether they're going to buy my special or so. You know, like it's all going to, the stakes are always there. They just change shape.
Exactly.
So it's about getting used to it.
It's like yesterday doesn't define tomorrow type of thing.
Very much so.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd rather have a terrible day failing at what I absolutely love to do than have an okay and safe day doing really well at something that I'm not passionate about. So I'd rather fall on my face 100 times over for comedy and for the things that I love than just kind of not
passing through.
Right, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get straight into your comedy. So for someone that has never been to one of your shows or have heard any of your comedy sets, what is the best way you can describe your comedy?
Oh man, I always get asked this question, and it's a great question, and it changes, and I think it gets a little bit more refined as I continue to do comedy. Somebody asked me this right when I started stand-up, and I felt like right when I started stand-up, like my first 3 to 6 months, and I felt so stupid and overwhelmed because I was like, well, you know, and I'm like, of course I didn't know. I hadn't even bombed yet, probably, you know. I think I'd like to say top tier thing is raw honesty and vulnerability. I think I leave no stone untouched or unturned. Sure. Yeah, I try to do that, you know. I also think what you see is not what you get with my comedy. I'd like to think that I really like that you said that what I said was like refreshing and not what you usually heard, because I do strive for that. You know, I would rather bomb while being completely original and saying things on stage people haven't heard already that night than run the risk of saying some version of something that is already kind of hacked.
Like, I heard that already.
Yeah, like guys can't make me come or whatever. It's like, okay, grow up, be a grown woman, make yourself come. Anyways, like, you know, like that's like my, you know,
and
ethos.
That's the quote of the show.
And that's the quote of the show. Okay. So I try to be very vulnerable and very honest and raw and in your face. And sometimes that, you know, that can kind of mean raunchy, and sometimes that can mean a little vulgar, and sometimes that can mean dark. But I want the audience to feel that every part of me is getting laid out there in every set, no matter how it gets received. And I do think that that level of transparency and that level of vulnerability and honesty, the audience does reward. They reward the comedians that are wholly themselves and not trying to be anything that they're not, and in it for the right reasons and sharing the right things. I think that those are the people that really become legends in this. So I think more than anything, my comedy is pretty raw, and that can end up meaning dirty or raunchy or frenzied or dark or whatever, but you're always going to get, I'm not going to really hide anything from the audience. I try not to, at least. Yeah.
I mean, it's got you far so far. 2021 best comedian in Miami. Is that the right title? Am I using it?
Yes, but it's 2022 now, so I'm irrelevant. It's Carlos Hernandez. Like, he's like, whatever. Okay, no, I'm kidding. He's one of my best friends. Yeah, that was great. Yes, I did. I won that. Didn't even know it was something you could win. You were just like, oh, email? Yeah, literally. A friend sent me the article and was like, congrats, well deserved. And I was like, what's happening? And I was like,
someone's watching?
Yeah, literally. And I like scrolled through and I was like, whoa, look at that. How cool. So yeah, that was cool.
It's funny that you said though, like it was hard for you to like kind of figure out what your comedy was, like the first like few months that you were doing it. Yeah. Because I think I kind of struggle with that issue when people are like, oh, like what's your podcast about? Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm like, I talk about my life. Yeah. But then you hear like Aaron like try to explain to me like what exactly my podcast is. He's like, what you do is just like, you know, you try to uplift people or just try to see people through different eyes. And I was like, yeah, but it's I feel like sometimes it's hard for, I don't want to say like the artist to like see what their work is sometimes.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's there is such a thing about being too close to something to where it's hard for you to even objectively see what it is you're doing. And I mean, comedians go through that. Everybody goes through that. You know, I feel that with my sets sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm so close to this, and I write every day and perform every day, and this is all I eat, breathe, sleep, and do. That even sometimes, like, getting asked what my comedy is about to this day, still sometimes I'm like, you know, like, it's having to take a healthy step back. And, you know, to that point too, I say, like, I have a women's organization, Cat Call, and I had a friend give me advice one time, where it's taken on so many lives, this thing, and I love it so much, but it started as a thing in the music business that was like happy hours and panels, and then it expanded into other things, and at one point we were events, but now we're kind of content and events, and it always takes on a new iteration. And I was frustrated one time with a friend, and I was like, God, I just don't know what the next step is or how to strategize moving this thing forward. And she was just like, there's no, like, deadline, and it can change, and it likely will. And it's like an artist building a sculpture. Like, it's like, you're just like, where do I go now? But you're not going to know where to go unless you make that one move that'll tell you where next to go, and that was informed by your one move here and all of that stuff. So it's all a nebulous, messy process, I think. So
so at what age did you start doing stand-up, and what was kind of like the motivation for you to start doing it?
I started stand-up only 3 years ago. I've been doing comedy in some fashion my whole life, like acting. I was really, really into improv and sketch comedy. Funny enough, I swore off stand-up. I was like, no. Yeah, so weird.
It's not me.
It's not me. Which is ridiculous. And I loved stand-up, and I loved comedy. Like, I was obsessed with Joan Rivers growing up, and like,
she's awesome.
Oh my gosh, and Gilda Radner and Phyllis Diller and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and SNL and Mad TV and tons of movies that I could list off and everything, and you know, and was so obsessed with comedy, but had never seen myself in particular as a stand-up. And then I had my maybe not so typical, but like mid to late 20s life falling apart.
Like, fuck.
Yeah, like, you usually have an existential crisis in your mid to late 20s anyways, where you're like, who am I? What am I doing? Am I going? What's happening? What's life? And you have it at 31 too, you know, sometimes. And but I was in a really abusive relationship. There were a lot of ups and downs within that. And when you go through something like that, it kind of shakes up your whole life. And it sounds so Mrs. Maisel cliche.
I love that show.
I know, but like,
so good.
I know. I'm like, God, she beat me to it and got it on Amazon Prime first. Damn it. Like, no, I'm kidding. And yeah, so that's how I stand up. Stand up is the most undiluted, pure, straightforward, raw medium. Like, I feel like stand-ups are the last pillars of free speech. So after going through that relationship, I had all these things to talk about that were funny, but mostly potent and dark and edgy. And like, it just, that's how I found my way to stand-up. That was the medium to talk about it.
And you were able to deliver what you went through in a way that's just like someone's able to laugh, but then you're also like, oh shit.
That's always what I approach my comedy. I think the best comedy is making people laugh, but also making them think. I think it's okay if they're quiet. I think it's okay.
Like, oh,
yeah. I think that's how you become a legend, and how you really change minds with people. And by legend, I mean that gets like thrown around and is kind of like sensationalized. But that's what I really think comedy is. It's peeling back society and experiences, and really making people not just ha 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 in wordplay and stuff like that, but really making them think about real shit.
Yeah, be like, that's funny, but also,
why is it so funny? Oh, hang on a second. Oh, that's real. It happens. That's what I think. But yeah.
So you do go into the topic about domestic violence and your experience in comedy. What was kind of like, you know, that FU type of moment to be like, I'm gonna talk about this and I'm gonna talk about it in a way that I'm comfortable and do it during stand-up?
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, to your point about something you said earlier about like getting asked what you're doing with your podcast and the answer always changing, and me getting asked about my comedy, like even speaking about that experience, I'm gonna go on 5 years out. I'll hit that anniversary right around now, like this week, and next week is like my 5-year anniversary, and I still struggle figuring out how to talk about it, so all that stuff. But I was when you're in something like that, it's like peeling back a scab, and it's like peeling back a scab and then constantly picking at it. That's how my life felt in that relationship. And like, if you keep picking at it and going back to it, it's never gonna heal. Right, exactly. And like, but it's out there, and it's like nobody can deny it and ignore it now and stuff like that. And I was just talking about it to everybody and hoping that people in my life would hold me accountable to actually leave. And the ways in which I was talking about it, I was so lucid and mentally unwell in that point in my life. And sharing these things and not holding back with how I was sharing them, that it was so painful and dark. The people in my life were laughing. Like, because it was funny.
Yeah.
Because that's when I really realized just how much like there is like healing in comedy. And I don't think you need to suffer to be funny necessarily, but it is very healing to laugh at things. And, you know, and I was sharing it in a way that I guess because I'm a funny person and I've always been funny, like it was coming out in a way that was still entertaining people and making them laugh, and they couldn't believe how candid I was being. And they were all like, you have to go talk about this, you have to do stand up. And I was still like, no, and this and that. And then, you know, I just like I went to an open mic one day. Like, I just like put my entire life on hold and I couldn't think about anything else. And I was like, I feel so down in the dumps and sad about myself and like hate my life and hate what I'm doing and hate this relationship I'm in. And I was like, what's the one thing that always makes me feel better? And I just ran to an open mic in New York, and I didn't have anything written. I just like wanted to talk about this stuff, and like people were like laughing at the open mic, and I was like,
you just did you.
Yeah. And I was like, oh god, that felt amazing, and like people were laughing and it was real, and you know, I guess the rest was kind of history. That's the stuff I talked about at first. I thought it was so funny and real, and that's so
after that night and doing stand-up in New York and talking about everything that you went through, what was kind of like the feeling just afterwards, like after the day was over?
I felt like I found myself the first time I did stand-up, which is so weird and like sublime and surreal. But I felt this, like, I don't even want to say I felt a rush. Like, you know how they say, like, when you meet your soulmate, you actually feel like calm?
Yeah.
They say, and you feel like at peace. I had never, and I was a dancer, I was a singer, I did theater my whole life, I was no stranger to being on stage or on camera, and I had never felt this wholeness and this comfort and this, it wasn't even a rush. I just got off stage and was like, that was so ridiculous, like in the most peaceful way, like that's me, that's what I need to do. And it wasn't this big aha moment. I just was like, I want to do that again and then again and again.
Like the peace was
just there.
It was just there, yeah.
I felt a peace I had never felt in the years that I was with that guy, and in any other job I had or any other moment on stage. I was like, God, that's it. That's what I want to do. I just want to do that again. That felt like home.
That's
so
amazing.
cheesy. Ugh, I know, but it's like, it's really how it felt. I was like, that felt so right and good. Let's do that again. Like, yeah. So
don't worry about saying cheesy stuff on this. Listen, I say cheesy stuff all the time, and then like I'm like going back and like listening to the episode, and I was like, I am going to kill myself right here.
I do that every time I talk about this stuff. I'm like, it's about finding yourself, and then I'm like, oh god, I'm losing all my street cred. But
your Kendall street cred,
my Kendall street cred.
Which listen, when I found out, because the last show that you did at Bay 13, you were talking about your public school, and then you said Varela, and that was the show that my sister went to, and we were both like, yeah, and you were like, what? Because we all went to the same school.
Did you go to Varela too?
I did.
And we talked about this. Oh, that's so funny.
And you're like, yeah, good job for public education.
Yeah. I was like, we're all making Varela really proud right now. Yeah. Felix Varela, baby, Kendall, forever.
Go Vipers.
Yeah, I'm like so proud to be from Kendall. Like when people are like, you're from Miami.
You mean from the hood?
The hood, right? The hood. A-Rod's never stepped into a hood. I'm pretty sure if he thinks that Kendall's the hood.
There have been like the hood moments in Kendall, but then I'm just like, I know your mom. Like, stop trying to act all hood.
Right? Yeah, you're like, oh, it's like, you're like, this is a little rough around the edges, but everyone's still gonna get home safe.
Exactly,
like we're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So funny. Yeah.
So in a male-dominated industry, what were the biggest challenges for you, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. You know what's interesting? There's a lot of actual traditional challenges that I'll share. And then I think another challenge is just excelling in this industry without having it to have to be excelling in a male dominated industry. Does that make any sense? Like, it's like, you know, like on the ones, like, I think that's the biggest challenge is truly excelling and building a voice for yourself and gaining the respect of your peers and everything, and not having it hinge on, oh my god, I'm doing this in spite of it being a male dominated industry, right? You know what I mean? Like that's what I think it is, because there's a lot of glory attached to it, like being a girl in a boys club, and I'm not knocking your question at all, because I think that's it. It's like letting your credits and your integrity and your accomplishments and your talent and all of these things like stand on their own without immediately having it be like, and you're a female doing it and in a male dominated. It's like, no, I'm just like doing it. This industry,
and I'm just good at it too.
And I'm just good at it, and that's it. And it's not like I'm good for being a girl. And also, it's acknowledging our male and you know, however else people identify, like, you know, they're our counterparts. It's just as hard for them too. Like it's not an easy business for anybody. That being said, there's certain truths to this historically being male dominated or favorable industry, and it is also the reality on that same token, or the other side of the token, I should say. There are things that come up as a woman in this business that you're like, wow, I thought I just saw this stuff in Mrs. Maisel or in movies, but this really just happened right now. And, you know, it is always there. And it's, you know, like showing up to a show and whose girlfriend are you? And
really?
Yeah. And like, you know, it is really hard for women to get stage time at comedy clubs. Like, you know, a lot of times like touring headliners don't request women. They always request men. And, you know, getting compliments after a show. I don't think women are funny, but you were great. And you're like, what's, you know,
thanks. The backhanded compliment.
Yeah. And like, we just get judged way differently. Like the second we walk on stage, is she cute? Is she not? Is she fat? Is she skinny? How's she dressed? Too sexy? Too not? Is she even going to be funny? Is she going to be dumb? Oh, she's going to talk about Tinder. Oh, she's going to talk about that. Like, it's all...
She's like, oh, she just talked about her vagina. Like, great. And I was like, yeah, does that make you fucking uncomfortable?
Right, you talk about your dick. And, like, you try having a period and going through, like, menopause and PMS and all this different stuff.
Exactly.
Like, of course it's going to be a part of your act, you know, or maybe it won't, and that's okay, too. So, I really think that it's almost like that saying, the way to beat the game is to not play the game kind of thing. So it's like the way to excel as a woman in a male dominated industry is to just excel and not let it and not have it hinge on or key too much that you are a woman in a male dominated industry.
Right.
Just be like, nope, I'm just a person in this industry and I'm really good and I work really hard and I show up for it and I'm professional and I'm good to people. And you'll just kind of quickly see that the fact that you are a woman in this business becomes like
it's not the entire story.
It's not the entire story anymore. And I think that speaks much more volumes than being like, yes, I'm a woman in a male dominated field. Like, just let your actions
speak louder.
Exactly. I think so. Yeah.
So like we were getting into that, you do a lot of your comedy about social issues that are going on.
Yeah.
Especially 2022. How important is it for you to use your platform to talk about issues such as abortion rights?
Well, for me, it is important. It's very important. I want my comedy to always be original and topical and connect with people. I mean, I also have dumb stuff in there. Like, I mean, I have not dumb, but I have jokes about like weird things my mom says and
the Scissor Sisters.
Oh, you remember?
That's my favorite one.
Thank you. I wish that joke landed consistently. It doesn't, but thank you. Yeah.
I just feel like some people like don't make it connect, and I'm like, bro,
so
it's fucking amazing.
Thank you. I actually just realized that too. I was like, sometimes people don't know that term Scissor Sisters and what it means. Those at home Google it. And then sometimes I look at the people that are my mom's age in the crowd and I've started being like, you're giving me the same look she gave me when she heard this. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it ranges. It's I think comedy still has to be funny first and foremost, but funny comes from what's real to you and what impacts the comedian. And I don't try to force talking about social issues. Like I don't like just like read the news every day and just try to write jokes about things that I read. Like talking about abortion rights or domestic violence comes natural to me because I feel very close to both of those issues personally. So those are my favorite jokes to tell, and those are the things that I want to talk about and make light of to make people pay attention, kind of thing. I do think it is the comedian's job. We're not a news network. We're not a politician. We're not often paid enough or paid, period, let alone paid to like have a perspective. You know, so I think having that unlimited access to pure free speech and complete freedom up there is, I do think you do a little bit of a disservice to not tell the truth about social issues in a way that like politicians or lobbyists or media networks or stuff can't, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. You know what I mean? Like it does kind of frustrate me sometimes when I hear comedians that have a platform and it's just a little hack to me, and it's like none of this really,
right.
you know, but I guess, like, you know, there's a place for them. Like, there's a place for the comedians that want to talk about abortion. Like, it's all a part of this ecosystem. But I just think, like, you've got this platform, and if you're a good comedian, you just see shit in a way other people don't.
And the way you just deliver it is, it's not like, you're not very, like, straightforward about it.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm saying this wrong, but it's just, like, the way that you deliver, like, what you're talking about, it's very easy to the ears.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, because it doesn't always, thank you.
At least for me, and, like, for the people that I've talked to that have seen you, and they say the same thing, like, it's just great overall.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, because you always want to, I understand sometimes I'm so comfortable with it and open about those things. And I have to sometimes be mindful of the fact that even just hearing the word abortion in the crowd might make...
Like, no!
Yeah. Or even worse, like there's a woman that has had one and, you know, hasn't come to terms with it yet. Or it's a secret between her and her husband or her and her family or something. And, you know, then you have me up there so open about it and literally screaming it from the rooftops and proud of it and whatever. And also having to read the room and be mindful that, like, these things might be falling on people that aren't ready to hear them or still and that's okay too. We just each have to, I always say that, like, the best shows and the best experiences are when the crowd and the comic meet each other halfway. Like, I'm willing to put all of this out there and you have to kind of be willing to, like, be uncomfortable. Like, it's like, well, that made me, I've had people be like, well, that made me uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay.
Sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, I'm like, it's pretty uncomfortable what we do up there and talking about this stuff too. So we got to kind of meet each other halfway, you know?
Talking about, like, reading the room, you do a lot of comedy here in Miami, but you also do a lot of comedy in New York.
Yeah.
I've lived in Miami all my life.
Yeah.
The people here are very special. It's a very, like... Jen, she's canceled.
You said it, not me. Yeah.
It's very, like, somewhat liberal, somewhat conservative.
Yeah, it's weird.
How is that, like, doing comedy here versus doing it in New York?
Not my favorite. I have had a lot of fun these last 2 years doing comedy in Miami, and I have adjusted. But man, did I have a growth spurt coming down from New York. You're right. It's a mixed bag down here. Like, Miami is pretty liberal, especially if you compare it to other Florida cities.
Oh, yeah, girl. I lived in Gainesville for 2 years.
Oh, yeah, me too. Are you a Gator?
Yeah, I almost. But I decided, I was like, you know what? It's not for me. I'm going to go back home.
I got you. Yeah, I totally got it. Yeah, I did Gainesville too. I went to college up there. Gainesville, Jacksonville, Daytona, all of them are, even Palm Beach and Boca. It's the South. It's the South for sure. And then, like, Boca's like Jewish South, and then, like, Daytona's like NASCAR South. Yeah. It's all crazy. And Naples is like retirement South. And then you do realize that Miami in comparison is like pretty liberal, and like Orlando too, like, because they're the big tourist hubs and stuff. So navigating that is big. The biggest thing about Miami that I found that was challenging is Miami is the most self-centered, self-obsessed, vain city. We're very proud of our city, and that's fine, but unlike other places, we're often not real about our shortcomings. Like, I feel like New York is like, yeah, we're the greatest city in the world, but also we fucking suck. Like, New York accepts how hard and rough it is, and how it's kind of the worst place in the world, but it's the best. And, like, you know, and other places can poke fun at themselves in a way that Miami can poke fun at itself. It's just so, Miami just thinks like what's happening in Miami is all that matters, and it's all the audiences want to hear about, and it's all like, you'll talk about things on stage that you think are common knowledge, and Miami audiences are like,
it's not.
And you're like, what? Like, hello? Yeah.
I've seen that happen several times.
So many times.
Like, you guys are, like, up there, like, you guys are telling jokes, and I'm like, I see myself, like, the only person laughing. Because I'm like, it's like, I was like, how is this? How do you guys not think this is fucking funny?
Well, even, like, Don't Say Gay is a bill that was passed.
Oh, your strawberry shortcake.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, my God, this shit blew my mind.
Thank you. I love that joke a lot, and I like that joke because it works everywhere. And the liberal people are like, I get it. If you're a little conservative and homophobic, you laugh at it too. It's great. It's a joke for everybody. But I did that, and that's a bill that was passed in Florida affecting all Miami-Dade County public schools, elementary kids. And there's like still people in Miami that are like, huh? And I'm like, it's still in the news. You didn't.
There's a billboard on it.
There's billboards on it. There's protests happening about it. Like, so, that's like my one parting thing, and like something that I've I struggled when I first got to Miami, and then I was like, then I leaned into Miami just to get by with my sets and wrote a bunch of jokes about Miami and like changed my act, which probably helped me grow as a comic.
Right.
Crowd work and knowing how to work a room a little bit differently. But now that I'm coming up on like 2 years of doing comedy here, I'm like, no, you motherfuckers meet me. Like, I'm going to keep you on your toes. Like, this is shit. You guys need to learn, Miami audiences, to laugh, to read more, to pay attention to shit that's not about Miami, take a joke about Miami. I just had a friend recently, I have a joke about Miami, and she's like, well, like, I'm as Miami as it gets, and I think that joke is really triggering. And I was like, dude, I grew up here. I love Miami. Miami's been great to me, but also my job is to like make fun of it
and hold
like,
a mirror
and hold a mirror to it. Like, yeah. She's like, well, I don't really like it. I'm like, well, then maybe you need to like look at yourself. I don't know. Like, you know, because it's like, yeah, like I'm like, Miami needs to, that would be Miami's biggest downfall. We're growing so much, but we need to learn that like there's other places and we have to pay attention to them and not just ourselves.
Is that a
Shots fired, Miami? Sorry, but you're kind of the worst sometimes. But you're the best.
I was like, I think that's like why I left for like 2 years. I was like, you know, I need to find something else other than just like. And that's the thing. Like when I moved, people were like, you're insane for moving. Like this is the greatest city in the whole world.
There it is.
I was like,
there it is.
I was like, you know what? I left for 2 years.
Yeah.
I came back and I was like, I love Miami for sure, but without like you have to like leave at one point just to see like there's something else out there.
All the people that I connect with the most down here, and I think that's why like you and I vibe so well too, I have noticed there is a common thread of like they've lived somewhere else for college for 2 years, they did a year here, they're from Miami but they grew up somewhere else, and by even not Miami, it even could just be Broward, it could just be somewhere else, you know, and it's like it's a total thing where you're like, you do know it's not, Miami is not just this. And the truth of the matter is, if you're going to be a comedian, especially, or work in the arts, like you have to try and expose yourself.
Go out there.
Yeah, expose
Build
yourself.
Experience.
Yeah. But definitely the people that I bond with and have the strongest mental connections here lived in LA for a little, New York for a little, at least went away for college for a little bit. And they're like, I can love Miami from a distance, and I write about things that aren't Miami. I can see it in a different way.
And then the stories you come back with, like, to people, like when I moved back and I was like, yeah, I experienced racism in Gainesville, and they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, you leave Broward and guess what?
Shit gets real. Yeah, shit gets real. Yeah. That's my one downfall too about Miami too, is they're always like, we're such a diverse place, and I'm like, we're not. It's not that diverse. It's actually like, I mean, it has diversity, obviously, the way a big city does. Yeah. But, like, you haven't known diversity until you've gone to, like, Chicago, New York, L.A., that you've got people transient from
It's like we're diverse in, like, Latino America type of thing.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But, like,
and if you're white and Jewish here, you're exotic. Yeah, you're, like, you're rare. Sorry, I cut you off.
And
but
you're the most wanted bachelor.
Well, I don't know about that. Not me. Oh yeah, maybe you're the most wanted bachelor. Bachelorette. No, my dating game has taken such a dive in Miami.
We won't even get into that.
We won't even get into that. I am not. I go to like the Midwest, and they're like, "Oh hey, shawty, like, look at you, double zero," and they love it. Down here in Miami, they're like, "Ay, flaca muchacha." Ah.
No BBL, no one.
No, that's it. Yeah, it's been rough 2 years. Anyways, yeah. That's a whole other podcast talking about that. Yeah.
We'll be back with more.
Yeah, part 2. Yeah.
So you were talking about your women's organization, Catcall.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that? Like, what is your goal with it?
Yes. Okay, so the goal has always kind of been the same. It's been creating this platform that promotes female leadership, progress, and camaraderie. And the way that we've been doing it, as you can tell, I've just been working on my boilerplate and my mission statement, is through all-female content and events. So it's content and events that can be enjoyed by and are open to everybody, however you identify, any walk of life, but they put the spotlight on female and femme and cis women is what it is, although we are very gay friendly and queer friendly as well too. I had started off, and I think this is probably still what my goal is now, I started off with Catcall because I wanted to create a genuine, cool, fun way women could bond and support each other. That's what I wanted to do. I was in the music business, and all of the networks for women were just like stuffy and like no age shaming here, but like older women, really archaic. I remember I was like sitting on the committee at like Women in Music, and like I was really excited, and I thought it was going to be a way to like make change in my industry. Right. And it was just like, I have this idea, we can't do that. I have this idea, we'll think about it, but what if we do it this new way? No, we're going to do it this old way that we've. And I was like, why am I here then?
That's so frustrating.
Yeah, and I had like a leadership position in it too, and I was like, okay, then why do we have these meetings if we're just going to do the same shit? Yeah. And like them and a bunch of other these professional networks were like, I'm like, the women, nobody's having fun. Nobody's like genuinely connecting. It still feels really competitive and really like toxic, and like nobody's gonna remember this event. It's not different, it's not whatever. So at least my intent with Catcall was to create a really genuine way people could, like, women could meet and enjoy each other and actually bond and were like-minded. So like I remember our first few meetings were just like I had access to this like recording studio in Manhattan, and we just like sat around and drank, and it was kind of like a potluck happy hour thing. And I invited like maybe 5 or 10 of the girls that I was closest to in the music business, and told them to each invite 2 people. So then like it's like
starts growing.
It starts growing, and it's like degrees of separation. Like it's not, you start to actually build like an organic, like-minded network that way, as opposed to just like an open call,
just like, here we have an event, like
here we have an event, and if you work in the music business, come. Okay, well, you could, it's not just a bunch of if you just get a bunch of people gathering because they're just women in comedy, or get a bunch of people gathering because they're women in business, or they're just women, or women, whatever, like that's where feminism loses its like it just becomes too narrow-minded, and like I have to support you because you're another woman, so now we're forcing a connection, and it's disingenuous, and we're not really gonna look out for each other. Whereas it's like what I try to do through Catcall is create these experiences that like we're here because we love XYZ, or we're here because we all are about a degree separated, or we're here for this cause that we all are impacted by. And it doesn't need to be the most packed event, it doesn't need to be the most popular event, but at least now you're gonna you run your chances are higher at quality connection through that, and at those people actually staying in touch, and at those people actually bonding, versus like, yes, queen, we have to have each other's back, feminism, I have to love you and support you just because you're another woman. And it's like, that's where
it's like forced, like that's
forced, and it gets misguided, and
you know it's forced too, because you're just like, you have to go to these events, and you're just like, like, fuck, another event.
Right, and that's why women get like tainted on gathering together and stuff like that, because they're like, I don't really enjoy myself or feel super seen or have fun, or you know, the women weren't all that friendly. It's going to be a lot easier for you to bond if you get a group of women together that already are like, I've had an abortion, awesome, and we're all at this protest together and going to do drinks after. Like, that's much more genuine than like, are you a woman in the entertainment business? Come to this happy hour from 7 to 10 p.m. where you're going to have to scream over a bad playlist to have small talk with a bunch of women you don't really know.
Exactly.
And it's just a lot. And I think that's where the movement just, you know, we get disconnected from why we did it, which was to like balance the playing field and just make sure that we're carving out space for women's issues and stuff. That's a long-winded way of saying it, but I think that's still what it is. I just want genuine connection.
Organic.
Yeah, like it's always a free membership thing. There's no mandatory meetings. If you say you're in Catcall, you're in Catcall. Like, that's it. Like, I always want it to be like that. If you're like, fuck Catcall, great, you're out. Like, you're out. That's it.
We need haters.
Right, exactly. We all need haters, right? And or like tomorrow, you could be like, I don't really care for that anymore, and unfollow it. And then tomorrow I could announce an event about underwater basket weaving, and you could be like, that's my favorite thing to do, I'm gonna go now, I'm back in, great, and I hope that you attend the event and you make 3 new friends. And like,
why the name?
I just wanted to take something that affects women every day and take the power back.
In Miami, catcalling is
ridiculous.
Just can't live life without it.
Ridiculous. And it's like primal, and it's like disgusting.
It's aggressive too. It's wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's you only get that kind of aggressive catcalling in New York from the homeless people. That's what's
I know. It's just like the other day I went to go buy bread. And it's funny because Bad Bunny has like a lyric in one of his songs that like, she just wants to go buy bread without anyone like catcalling her.
Which song? I don't love him.
That's my favorite guy.
Okay,
but no
we'll
worries.
agree to disagree. I like Titi Me Pregunto, but that's it.
But in his song Andrea, that's what he mentions like in his lyrics. So then literally the other day I was just trying to go buy bread, and like these two.
This guy's like, damn, that pussy right.
No, he literally, he was like, he's like, this one's the one. And I literally looked at him and I was like, you're fucking gross.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I do that too. Like, I've had guys like say something about my ass and then I just turn around. I'm like, I have diarrhea. And I just try to like.
And they're like, what? She responds back. And I was like, yeah, but I pick and choose my battles. I will say that.
Yeah.
I pick and choose.
Yeah.
People are crazy here.
They are crazy here. You have to be very, very careful. And yeah, catcalling was something that's like, you know, women go through so much, but catcalling was like small enough and palatable enough, and I just liked it, like a cat call. And like a cat call can either be like men making you feel weird and uncomfortable in public, or a cat call could be like you calling your girls, and it's a cat call. So just taking the power back on something that's in the female experience. Yeah, thanks.
So we're going towards the end of the show.
No,
but I always ask this important question.
I'm having so much fun.
Vodka or tequila?
Tequila.
Why? Yes, finally. Everyone always says vodka on the show.
Nah. Well, like, I like vodka when it's in, like, obviously, like, espresso martinis and stuff like that.
I've never had one. I know.
What are you doing after this? I'm already 3 sips into a Woodford Reserve. Let's go fucking...
You have to finish that before the show.
I'll just chug it, and then I'll be like, now let's go on to the uncut portion of the podcast. I'm going to name drop everybody I don't like in Miami. 3 hours. No, I'm kidding. I never liked vodka. I don't like the taste, and it doesn't have a taste, but it has a taste. People are like, it doesn't have a taste. I'm like, yes, it does. It has a taste, vodka.
Yeah.
And I think it's like sneaks up on you, and I also think I overdid vodka in college, and now it's like ruined to me. Vodka makes me bananas. Like vodka sodas, like they just sneak in, and just like I love a good margarita.
You're good 5 minutes later. It's just like pa pa
pa pa pa. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't care for. Obviously, in like espresso martinis are good with it, or in certain drinks. I know like what Moscow Mules have vodka.
Yeah.
So like fine, I guess. But like I love mezcal, and like I love if I'm gonna do a shot of something. I just do tequila. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
If you're gonna drink, like, might as well. Just
might
go hard.
As well. Yeah, exactly. Are you a whiskey girl?
No. That's Aaron stuff. No.
Okay.
No. My thing is tequila. Nice. Should it be my thing? No.
She's like, I start hanging from chandeliers. Shit. That's so funny.
I start getting lost.
That's so funny. Girls are always like, if you start drinking long enough, like now that I think about it, I'm also like, well, I also have to be careful with like whiskey and old fashions, because I've been known to lose my mind with those too. You just go through every form of alcohol and you're like, am I the problem? I'm the problem. Okay.
My shit is that I mix. Like, yeah.
I had one of the worst hangovers of my life last week. I met friends for drinks. It was girls' night. They were both going through shit with their men. I wasn't going to do it. I got out of my show, and they were like, we ain't better. We're having a girls' night, and we're at the Gramercy Ladies' Night. And I was like,
I'll fucking be there.
And I'm like putting my cape on. I'm like, to the rescue. Let's go. I have to go. So I had like, somebody bought me a whiskey shot after my set. And I had wine with dinner with my parents, 1 glass, and then somebody bought me a whiskey on the rocks after my set, and I'm fine. Then I had 2 espresso martinis, and then I had gin and tonics, and then they bought tequila shots. We had an amazing night. It was so fun. I was like, I don't know what business I had being out until 5 a.m. on a Wednesday, but I just did it. But,
that's normal down here, though.
Oh, yeah, and it's not normal for me, but it's very normal down here. And then you see why nobody in Miami has a real job. You're like, because you're an alcoholic, like you have a problem.
Oh, you sell Forex,
right? Literally, yeah. I'm like, so you're a drug dealer. But that was like, it was one, and I just had so much fun and just wasn't keeping tabs on what I was drinking. But yeah, mixing will get you. I was like, and I'm 31, so it took 2.5 days to get over that hangover. 2.5 days. I was like headache, couldn't eat, like it was really bad.
My things was like, no, never say no to a free drink. So then that's when the people start just like putting in stuff, and I'm like, okay.
That's what happened on the show. He's like, I just feel like you're a whiskey drinker probably, and I was like, yeah, I'm sure.
If it's free 99, I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take ketamine at that point. Who gives a shit? Like I'll take rubbing alcohol. Like and then it was not good. Yeah, but it's okay. It was a fun night.
But she's a tequila girl. She's funny. She's amazing.
Thanks. So are you?
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
If people want to come see you at a comedy show or just want to connect with you, what is the best way they can do that?
Instagram, Brittany Brave on Instagram. There's a million different ways to spell Brittany, Brittany. That is the correct way. That is the way I spell it. Follow me, check the stories. I also have an email list in my bio on Instagram. That's a really good way to just the big shows. I advertise through there. And then Britt Brave on Twitter, BrittanyBrave.com.
We'll have all those linked, don't worry.
Exactly. Make it easy forever. You have no idea. I was walking somebody through today. They're They were like, I want to go to your next show. And I was like, it's the link in my bio. And they're like, which link in the link? And I'm like,
it's a fucking link tree.
yeah, it's a link tree. It's just, but it's okay.
Scroll down. Keep scrolling.
Right, scrolling down. Someday I'll be big enough to where I'm like, well, the only people meant at my shows are the ones that are smart enough to figure out how to find the link. And if you couldn't, then you're not meant to be there, I guess.
It's not your show.
We're not there quite yet. So if you DM me, I'll walk you through how to get tickets to the show. So,
to close off, what is one thing for someone that's watching it? It's probably in the dumps. Like, what's that one thing that kind of just like gets you through life?
I have like a bunch. I love closing conversations and pods. I love this. I love that. Like, people never think comedians are serious, and I'm like, we're the most serious people inside. So one thing that always gets me through, I've always loved the saying, everything is okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. So I just like that saying.
I like it
a lot. Like, you know, it's just like everything always works out in your favor. I am a big believer in that the universe or whatever higher power you subscribe to is going to have your back. And if something's not happening, something that's meant for you is never going to miss you, all that kind of stuff. So I always just kind of trust that, like, even movies for the most part, like everything by the end, maybe it's not the way you wanted it to end, but it's all okay in the end. So I always kind of remind myself of that too. And then I have, it's greater than it's something that was like hammered into me when I was going through like domestic violence rehabilitation. But like whatever is happening to you, you're so much greater than the circumstance kind of thing. So, you know, I just always, that's why I got it like tattooed on my wrist, and I actively use it to remind myself that, like, so many times we get caught up in our emotions and the details of a circumstance that's happening, and it's like you and your capability and your existence is so much bigger than like whatever, whether you got fired or the breakup or somebody's, whatever it is, like you exist beyond that moment. So
that's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah.
Well, make sure if you're in the Miami area, New York area, or if you know how to use a link tree, go out there and support Brittany.
Technologically backwards, come and see a show.
Don't forget to go see her and follow her on Instagram, Twitter, and all of the above. She is amazing. Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And with that being said, this is the end of the show. So I'll see you guys next Monday. Peace the fuck out. And that's it.